Yeah, I am going to start sharing the screen now. We had examined two approaches to value-based management out of five listed in your curriculum. The two completed approaches are Marathon approach and Alpha approach. Now let's go to the third approach, the next one, then McKinsey's approach. This McKinsey is a very popular international consulting firm, you are aware. As part of your internal internship, also you had dealt with one of the 7S uh, frameworks of developed by McKinsey's approach for organizational study. The same McKinsey and Company, it's a leading international consultancy firm, and it has developed its own approach to value-based management, again based on discounted cash flow principle. So discounted cash flow principle appears to be one of the common premises, common propositions of most of the value-based management approaches developed over the years. Now, this uh, McKinsey approach has four key steps or important steps to work out the value creation process by the organizations. They are ensure the supremacy of value maximization. An organization might be having several objectives, several mission statements to pursue, several goals to pursue. But underlying all these multiple objectives or goals or targets before an organization, value maximization of for the shareholders should be the supreme, the most important, most significant objective of the organization. That is what this approach stresses upon or focuses upon. It tells the organizations to make this value maximization objective as the single most important objective of the organization and all those who are associated with the organization. Everybody should be driven by this single objective. Other objectives will act as supplementary or complementary to this principal objective. This should be the basic principal, supreme objective of the organization. So, in order to achieve one, in order to bring about this value-based management, or in order to ensure wealth maximization or value maximization or value addition for the shareholders, organizations should ensure that this value, this objective, this mission is being held supreme, considered supreme, followed by all the organization, adopted by all the members of the organization as one supreme object. Second one, as we have seen in the earlier marathon approach also, value creation is an objective and it is going to be driven by several factors, right? Value creation or value addition or value maximization does not happen on its own. There are a number of factors which push, which drive, which trigger this value process. Once these drivers are in operation or in full operation or in the full force, then you can hope to um, achieve or realize the value creation. You can hope to add value creation. If these drivers, these might be various factors, right? Various variables. If these drivers are not active, are not in full force, are not in operation, you cannot hope to achieve the value addition or value maximization all by itself. It will not happen all by itself. There should be something to push forward this process. So the next step for the organization mm, concerned with value-based management or value creation for the shareholder is to identify the value drivers. Which are the value drivers in our organization who are going to contribute to or who are going to help the organization in realizing its value creation process or objective. Third is, of course, just like the marathon approach, you have to establish appropriate managerial processes. In the other this thing, we have mentioned this as superior capabilities. Here, the same probably concept is mentioned in a different way. In order to achieve the value creation, organizations are required to put in place or set up or establish appropriate managerial process with regard to planning, with regard to controlling, with regard to staffing, with regard to directing. You know all these management processes. These processes should be robust. These processes should be dynamic. These processes should be of superior quality. Your planning mechanism should be up to date. Your controlling mechanism should be robust. Your staffing process should be up to date, right? Or object oriented. So all the managerial processes, right, from planning to controlling and reworking, reviewing, etc., monitoring, everything should be appropriate, should be adequate. Only then you can hope to undertake the operations towards the value creation objective. Finally, implement this policy properly. You might be having good objectives, you might be having good processes, you might have identified and you might be working upon the value drivers. But if this entire process is not implemented properly, you will not be able to bring about value-based management, you will not be able to accomplish your objective of value creation for your shareholders. So implementation is equally important. Just like the setting up of the objective, identifying the value drivers, and setting up of appropriate managerial processes and capabilities, implementation is the most important thing in bringing about or in practicing value-based management in the organization so that you will be able to create value for your shareholders. So that's about McKinsey's approach. The details are available in your course material. Please go through them. Next, we are going to take up the fourth approach, that is Stern-Stewart approach, or very popularly known as EVA approach, one of the extensively followed, extensively debated, extensively researched approach for value-based management. This approach was originally proposed by Stern, Stewart and Company, a consulting firm, called as more popularly called as I told you, EVA approach, and it is a very popular idea. Fortune magazine called this approach today's hottest financial idea, and it is getting hotter. Peter Drucker refers to it as a measure of total factor productivity. That is, it captures the entire productivity of an organization. It reflects, it manifests the entire uh, factor. Factor here means the factors of production, like the land, labor, capital, and technology. You know this. Uh, the productivity or efficiency or effectiveness of all this, or the success, right? Capability or potential of all the factors you have assembled in your organization. How are they performing? What is their performance? Entire thing is captured and communicated by this approach. That is what Peter Drucker, the great management guru, labels this approach. Companies across a broad spectrum of industries and in the different countries have joined this EVA bandwagon. EVA bandwagon is a process. Most of the industries have adopted this EVA approach. In most of the countries, this EVA approach is being practiced. So that is why this is among all the various VBM approaches. This stands out as one of the most popular, widely used approach. EVA, please note this is a very simple concept, but has a very extensive meaning, very extensive implication. EVA is essentially the surplus, the extra, right? Left over, left after making an appropriate charge for the capital employed in the business. One of the complaints or one of the deficiencies of conventional financial accounting is that the earnings or the net profit, as shown by the conventional profit and loss account, does not take into account, right, an appropriate charge for the capital employed. It does not take into account. You don't find an item called interest on capital employed. No, You have interest on bank loan, you have interest on debenture, you have interest on borrowings, but you don't take into account the charge for the capital employed in the business. To that extent, your profit and loss account is debited. To a lesser extent, to that extent, your profit is overstated. And that is one of the important deficiencies of financial accounting, one of the important deficiencies of the conventional earnings, accounting earnings. We have seen earlier in this unit. So this approach, this EVA approach, tries to make amendments to this deficiency, tries to set right this deficiency. How? By making an appropriate charge for the capital employed. So the process is very simple. You start with the net profit as shown by your profit and loss account. From this, deduct an appropriate charge for the capital employed, and what remains of this net profit after deducting the charge for the capital employed is the actual economic value you have created. Your net profit as shown by your profit and loss account is not the actual value created for the shareholders during the financial year. It is this net profit, right, minus a charge for capital employed. So this is surplus, if at all there is a surplus. If this surplus is the real value created by the organization for its shareholders, not the net profit as shown by your accounting statements or your income statement. So that is the essence of this approach. So it is essentially the surplus, economic value added is essentially the surplus left after making an appropriate charge for the capital employed. So if you remember this, probably you will be able to understand the meaning and significance of this concept called economic value added. Now, elaborating on this approach, this firm says that there are three components of EVA. EVA is made up of three important components. There are three factors, three variables that interplay to bring about or to compute the value, economic value added by the organization. This approach says that EVA, economic value added, is a function of these three things: net operating profit after tax or NOPAT. So it starts with this one. You take the net operating profit. Net operating profit is operating income minus operating expenditure, without taking into account non-operating incomes or receipts and non-operating expenses like administration expenses, taxes paid, etc. So that is one. Second component is the cost of the capital. Cost of the capital is taken to calculate the charge for the third component, charge for the capital employed in the organization. What is the cost? What is the cost of the capital employed? Had this capital not been employed in the organization, it would have been employed elsewhere. It would have been deposited elsewhere, and it would have generated some revenue. By employing this capital in your organization and not depositing, not investing in other organization, you are foregoing some revenue, right? That is the opportunity cost of the capital employed. This cost of capital is equal to that opportunity cost of capital employed. So you have 100 crores, you could have kept this 100 crores in a bank and would have got 4% interest. But you have not deposited there. You have employed this in your organization. But ironically, in your financial accounting, you are not taking into account this 4%, whatever you would have earned there, the opportunity cost. You are not doing this. So that is what you have to consider now. In order to consider this, you require a factor called cost of capital, that is C, and of course the capital employed, total capital employed in the organization. Right? You could have simply kept quiet. You have got your equity, you have got your debt funds. Don't invest it in the organization. Mobilize this, keep it in a bank. You could have got 5% in, but now you have employed this. Are you able to earn at least that 6%? Or you are earning only 1% or 5% or 10%? What is the loss to the organization? What is the charge for the organization for having used this capital and having employed this capital in your organization? That is what we are going to consider to work out the realistic value creation by the organization. Now, again, these three components are further explained. Probably you have studied this elsewhere. There is a reference to these factors in unit 1 of this subject, that is overview and the DCF process. So the first unit of this subject, please refer to them. So NOPAT is profit before interest and tax minus multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. These things you will see when you work out the numerical problem. So this is NOPAT, profit before interest and tax. And on this you calculate interest and you deduct that you calculate the tax and you deduct the tax from this profit before interest and the tax. So you will be left with profit before interest. Now from this you deduct interest on capital employed, you will get the real profit, which is equal to the value created by the organization. So that way it is very, very simple and conceptually very, very clear. Should be very clear. So NOPAT is profit before interest and tax multiplied by 1 minus tax rate. So what is, suppose tax rate is 30%, 1 minus 30% is 0.7. So profit before interest and tax into 0.7, that should give you profit before interest. So EVA is calculated in any of the following 4 different alternatives are given. You'll be looking into these when you work out numerical problems later in this term. I will simply limit myself to the explanation of these things. EVA here in all these 4 different computational equation. EVA stands for economic value added. Then NOPAT, as we have already noted, net operating income after tax. So in the previous last line you saw this. NOPAT is net operating profit before interest and tax into tax rate, 1 minus tax rate, that gives you profit after tax but before interest. Now C star is the cost of capital which is required to be calculated on the capital employed. Capital is the book value of the capital employed in the firm. Capital employed here includes both equity and debt. And somewhere it is R, return on capital. What is the return capital employed? What is the net operating profit after tax for the capital employed, that gives you return on the capital employed. PAT, you know this, profit after tax. Then interest expense of the firm, interest is, profit after tax plus interest. So these things probably we will be able to clearly follow when you work out the problems. Then KE, of course, we have understood this. The cost of equity, T is the marginal tax rate, and equity is the equity employed in the organization. So these equations, these formulas should help you in calculating the EVA. We will be working out numerical problems on this, and this should be more clear. But you should understand the notation for all these components of the formula that is required at this stage. Yeah, I find 19 students here, but still far less than the usual. No, so EVA is a concept, and we know how it is calculated. That is the accountant's part. But from the management's perspective, and we know that this is the exact, this is the realistic, this is the real value creation. Naturally, the management should deliberate on increasing this EVA, because if you increase EVA means you are increasing or you are maximizing your shareholders' value. You are creating additional value for your shareholders. Calculation, computation part of the accountant part, the management should think of ways and means to increase this EVA so that they will be able to continuously maximize the shareholders' wealth or the shareholders' value, and thereby they will be able to achieve or accomplish the basic supreme objective of the organization. Now, from the above, it can be seen, even the formula should give us an idea as to how we can go about increasing the EVA if operating efficiency is improved. By improving the operating efficiency, we will be able to improve the operating profit. By improving the operating efficiency, we mean improve the operating income or reduce the operating expenditure. Thereby, you will be able to improve the operating efficiency, leading to higher net operating profit, which is the basis for the entire EVA mechanism. Then, if value adding investments are made, if you are going to make investments which are going to add value to your organization, whose revenue generation is more than their cost, where you know that the principle of investment management. That is, if the IRR is more than the KE or KD, whatever it is, then if the cost is less or the income revenue is more than the cost, then we call them value adding investment. Right? If I borrow, take the example, if the banks obtain CASA funds at 5%, and if they invest or if they lend at 10%, the difference is 5%. This is their profit. This is their margin from where they deduct all the expenditure. So if the banks are able to lend at a higher rate at 12%, 15%, their margin will expand, their spread will expand. This will help in generating more and more profit for themselves after getting all the administrative expenses from out of this spread or margin. So if the organization is making more and more value-adding investment, EVA is bound to increase. If uneconomic activities are, are removed or discarded naturally, which are going to be a burden on the organization, remove them. They are not adding any value. You are simply wasting money on them, right? You are spending, say, 10% and they are generating 5%. Right? Every 1 rupee you spend is equal to 50 paisa loss. So why should you continue to have these uneconomic activities? You scrap, right? You disband them. You discontinue those activities. You discontinue uneconomic or not so profitable product lines, manufacturing lines. You close down not so profitable branches, units. Remove them, right? Discard them so that you will become lean and mean, and your entire organization becomes a very income generating economic unit. And of course, the cost of the capital is lower. More the cost of capital is lower, lesser will be the charge. Lesser will be the charge as per this, even this formula. There will be charge on the net operating profit. So you'll be left with higher surplus. Because from the net operating profit, you are going to make a charge for the capital employed at the rate of the cost of capital. If this cost of capital is less, you'll be making lesser charge on the net operating profit, leading to a higher surplus, higher residue. And this higher surplus, the higher residue is nothing but the higher value you are going to give or create for the shareholders or add for the shareholders. So in more specific terms, these are the normal situations where managements can hope to realize or increase EVA. In more specific terms, I think whatever I have explained is there. The rate of return on existing capital increases because improvement in operating performance. This means that operating profit increases without infusion of additional. So if you increase the operating efficiency naturally, the surplus will be more. Additional capital is invested at a rate higher than, right? Its cost of capital where the IRR is higher than K, and capital is withdrawn from uneconomic activities which are earning inadequate returns, and the cost of capital is lower by altering the financing mix. Go for cheaper funds. If you are a high interest bearing debt, and if the current interest in the capital market is low, retire those high interest bearing debentures, etc., redeem them and raise fresh capital at lower rate so that you can save the interest and you can bring down the overall weighted average cost of capital. So by altering the financing strategy, financing mix, or debt equity mix, you can try to reduce your average cost of capital By doing these specific measures, you will be able to achieve these initiatives, which will then contribute or help you in increasing your economic value added. So EVA approach, the economic value approach, is a very ideal, extensively used approach, as I told, and it is being used, or it has been considered as a very good measure for all these purposes. To set the goal and business planning, you set this. This is what we are going to create. This is what value we are going to create. Accordingly, you can work backwards. So in setting the target, in setting the goal, and in planning your business operations, or ensuring the year, this EVA gives you a good direction. And performance evaluation. You have set the targets and what you have achieved, whether you have really added that much of value or whether you have failed in achieving this, whether you have partially achieved this. That is, evaluation is possible with this EVA goal post. And for bonus determination, communicating with investors about the company's operations, programs, policies. Capital budgeting, of course, for budgeting the investment in capital projects, will have this EVA in mind. This is what you have to generate. This is what rate of return we expect from our investments, and that's why we have to invest in this, or we should not invest in this. So selection of capital projects, drawing up of capital budgeting will be facilitated by having this EVA approach, following this EVA approach. This gives you a clear direction. This is what you have to achieve, this is what value you have to create, and this is what you are at, and what you have to do to reach this gap, bridge this gap, or reach your target. And of course, the corporate valuation. How? Company valuation, firm valuation. If you are really adding more and more value or wealth to your shareholders, naturally your value will grow. So EVA is a very realistic, right, very practical, very useful approach for various corporate activities or functions, right, from goal setting and business planning to performance evaluation and the firm's evaluation, firm's valuation. So it is being widely accepted across industries and across domains. Now, how this EVA is helping, that is what I explained, right? And that is where you are going to get this kind of the value. So the last approach, this is the approach, we are going to take it up in the next class, and hopefully we are going to complete this theoretical part of this subject in the next class, that is on Saturday. Because tomorrow we are missing out on this class. So no class today, Friday we are missing out because of the test. So Saturday we have got the class from 12 to 1:30 to be able to discuss this and complete this theoretical part of this one, and from Monday we can have the session. So I am going to stop sharing this slide. As of now, we have got who are come late: Gopal Naik, Ganesh Vaikar, Deepika, Pranav, Pooja Joshi, Umesh, Susmita, of course, Ashmi was already there, Neha, Madan, Nishan, Ashka was already there, Vidyashri, Rakshita was already there, then yes, Rajesh was already there. So these are the students who have attended. I believe 2019 were talking compared to them. Okay then, thank you all. I'm going to end the meeting here. Take care.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah, thank you.